محمد وآل محمد صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني ذل في ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشاء نغرقهم فلا شريك لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد ضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننقصه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. سورة مباركة الفاتحة.
صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد. تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، ہائے بابا تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، کیسے دروازہ ہٹاؤں، کیسے محسن کو بچاؤں، سانس سینے میں رکی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، ہاتھ میں جس کے میرا ہاتھ دیا تھا تم نے، کہہ کے من کن تو جسے مولا کہا تھا تم نے، میں نے ہر موڑ پہ بابا ساتھ اس کا ہے نبھایا، ہاں میرا جرم یہی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، تیری امت نے بنا دی ہے یہ حالت بابا، کوئی پھسلی بھی نہیں میری سلامت بابا، سانس لیتی دم گھٹنے لگتا ہے میرا دم، صرف مرنے کی کمی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، کبھی دربار میں پیشی کو بلاتے ہیں ہمیں، کبھی دروازے پہ آ کے ستاتے ہیں ہمیں، میرے یہ پھول سے بچے پوچھتے ہیں یہی مجھ سے، کیا خطا ہم سے ہوئی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، شرم آتی ہے بھلا تم کو بتاؤں کیسے، یہ تماچوں کے نشاں تم کو دکھاؤں کیسے، تم نہ پہچان سکو گے دیکھ کر مجھ کو کہو گے، کیا میری زہرا یہی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، ہائے بابا تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، صلوات محمد علیہ۔
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dr. Sayyid Shabbir Kirmani, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for the Salih Sawab of the marhum listed on the screen and for all marhumin. Al-Fatiha. Ayyam is requested for the names listed on the screen and for all those who need hearing elsewhere. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 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 أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. On Thursday, December 5th, ladies will have majlis for Fatimiyya and it will begin at 10:30 a.m. The majlis will take place in the gents' main hall by Zakra Sabah Bimani. To contribute towards the Tabarruk and Hadiyah, please contact Sister Rafia Nathani at the number listed on the screen. 7th Annual Shop with the Sheikh and a Cup event. The Masjid al-Hayy Outreach Team is excited to host the 7th Annual Shop with the Sheikh and a Cup event in partnership with Sanford Police Department and Seminole County Public Schools to bring holiday joy to underserved children. Each child will select a gift valued up to $75. Wrap it and enjoy holiday treats. You can help by sponsoring a child with a $75 donation, volunteering to assist with gift selection and wrapping, or spreading the word. To make a contribution, please Zelle at donate@masjidhayy.org and mention Shop Sheikh. For more information, please contact Hana Rahim at the number listed on the screen. No parking areas. The management would like to remind all community members that parking along the curb of the mosque is not permitted. When vehicles are parked in no parking zones, it creates congestions and issues for those dropping off the disabled and elderly. We request that you use one of the ample parking spaces available. Please note that this policy also applies for when parking during Jummah programs. We appreciate your cooperation in this matter. At this time, I'd like to call Dr. Sayyid Shabbir Kirmani for tonight's lecture with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد. وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. وقل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, here in Florida or across the globe, wherever you may be hearing my voice, Salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question: what is revolution? In coming and commemorating these blessed nights, which we are for this night and the next 3 nights, including tonight, we come and commemorate a personality who embodies the spirit and the element of what it means to be a Muslim, or the spirit of Islam, or the spirit of Tashayyu, one may say. And to that end, it's important to realize that when we commemorate Bibi Fatima, it's important to understand that there are different ways to understand her personality. Within our world, you may find that there are certain people who are known within their own spheres. So for example, there may be people who are known, for example, in the realm of politics. There may be people who are known broadly to society. Then there are people who are known to specific elements of personalities within society. For example, there are people who are known to the Amma, and there are people who are known to the Khassa. When it comes to Bibi Fatima, you need to look at how she is defined by different categories of the Muslim world. There is the definition and the understanding of Bibi Fatima as per the Muslim community in general. There is the understanding of Bibi Fatima as per the mu'mineen, the believers in particular, the special believers. And then there's a third category of understanding Bibi Fatima as per the ma'soomeen. Each one would regard this personality in a different light. Tonight, when we embark on this conversation of trying to understand how Bibi Fatima shows us what it means and how she has helped to define the spirit of Shiaism, tonight we'll be discussing the mother of revolution, that is Bibi Fatima and her contribution to the foundation of Karbala. That is, when we look at her personality, whether it's her sacrifice, her adherence to justice, her standing up for others that may not have as many rights as her or prestige, or whether it's her looking after the rights of the most downtrodden, or if it's even being in the highest upper echelon of society, you notice that she embodies those traits that actually make the foundation of what eventually becomes the Karbala'i movement. Whether it's the sacrifice, whether it's the adherence to justice, whether it's the divine love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you find it embodied in the personality of Bibi Fatima that she nourished into her children, Imam Hussein, Imam Hassan, Bibi Zainab, and the likes. Not only them, the progeny that came afterwards to actually give birth to the spirit of the Shia movement. Therefore, tonight, I want to start a discussion with you on understanding who this personality is in the realm of not only Muslims, in the realm not only of Mu'mineen, but also the realm of what the Ma'asumeen have said about this personality. The next element that I want to look at is, how is it that she showed glimpses of the magnanimity of hers that also sowed the seeds for her children to follow and the revolutions that came afterwards to come forward. The third element is, how does she give us guidance in our world about what the role of women should be in broader society as Islam? That is, our world in Canada, in America, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, hasn't seen the true face of what Islam's vision is on women. They've seen a changed face, a face that has been obscured by the modern perception of certain people who have certain ideologies. That's not necessarily what Islam embodied. So we'll look at that inshallah, and finally we'll commemorate our hearts with the remembrance of this great personality who the Prophet himself highlighted what was her position and her maqam in this dunya and perhaps even in the akhirah. This is our agenda for tonight. Wherever you are, here in Florida or across the globe, sana salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. At the first level, it's important for us to understand, what do I mean that we have to look at the dictionaries and the approaches of different scholars and different people on what's being said here. So for example, if I come to you and I say that this person maybe has been elected or been chosen to be a cabinet member or a treasury secretary or something in our government in the current state and the current environment, one may think that that's the most qualified person for the position. Depends on who you ask. If you ask the people who are in favor of it, they'll say this is the most qualified person. But if you ask maybe academics, they may say, hold on a second, this doesn't seem to be the most qualified person. For example, when it comes to these things, you have to know who to ask about what. So if I ask the general Muslim community, they may say, Fatima Zahra, oh, she's the daughter of Rasulullah. Okay. If I ask the mu'mineen and the believers, they may have a different understanding. They'll say that she's the mother of Hassanain, she's the mother of the Imams, she has this maqam in this position. But if you ask the ma'asumeen, they may say something even further that we cannot fathom. Similarly, in our world, when it comes to these examples, we may think somebody is a big deal, when in reality, they may not be a big deal. And we may say that somebody is, they're not something that's worth mentioning, when in reality, they may be a big deal. For example, if I walk down the street in America, and I say Noam Chomsky, some people may know him, a lot of people will not know him. He's the most cited professor in the world, alive, as far as I understand. Many people won't know him. He's actually paid a big price for his justice on the issue of Vietnam, on the issue of Palestine, on the issue of many things. But the public media, or the popular media, I should say, has curbed him, and he's paid a huge price for his adherence to justice. Not my words, of all people, Christopher Hitchens said that he paid a huge price for his adherence to justice and truthfulness on those causes. Number one. Number two, but if I start telling you, there's somebody who's the president-elect of the United States, people may know that person. Popularity may be one thing. Popularity doesn't necessarily mean something's right. So for example, if I ask you, do we always want a democracy? Do we want a democracy in our life when we're running economics and things? I'll give you an example. When you're in a plane, do you want a democracy running the plane? I don't think it's a good idea to have a democracy running a plane. You want the pilot to be able to run the plane. Democracy would cause a crash. In the same way, you should have experts who are running the system for governance many a times, at least the people who are qualified within that reason. Similarly, if I tell you about another example in our world, for example, of a commodity, maybe even, but the different brands and different levels of it. Coffee, I don't know, this is just something coming to mind. I may be able to drink coffee and I say, this is great. It gets me my caffeine in my morning and I get on with my day. But I may not be able to tell what is the different grades and the different qualities and what is good and what is actually not good. Somebody could sell me something that doesn't have much value. I'm guessing Muhammad Bhai is here, he could probably tell a lot better than I can about what's a good grade and what's not. He helped craft the thing. Similarly, Dr. Kimji is here. He's been in academia. He understands what are people who are mentioned in academic circles. The general people don't know about that necessarily. They may not know about René Guénon. They may not know about Sam Houston, or they may not know about other writers throughout history who have written on religions. But when it comes to this space and this dynamic, the people who need to know. Similarly, when it comes to this, now coming back to Fatima al-Zahra, Rasulullah says, Fatima badatum minni. The Ahlul Bayt and the Ma'sumeen, Imam Askari says that we are a hujjah on the people and Fatima al-Zahra is a hujjah on us. What this means, I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know. To understand the depth of what it means to be a hujjah on a ma'soom, you need to be a ma'soom at least or something. So understanding that, I don't understand. But what I do know is the people who Allah has made as representatives of His on earth are saying that this person is someone for us to look after and to learn from. That tells me something, number one. Number two, where's Fatima in the Quran? When it comes to Fatima in the Quran, we need to have some baseline to understand that is this just a Shia issue? Is this just a sectarian issue? That why are we discussing this? Does this cause a rift? Hold on a second. When it comes to rift, you don't tell me that if I'm coming up and telling the history that happened in the history of the world, and I tell things as they are, that from my perspective and my understanding and my research, that I am causing the rift. The rift, you should say, for example, if you come to this part of the world, you come to America, you come to Canada, they have the indigenous people. Now people are saying you have to recognize the rights of indigenous land, indigenous people who were here before. Are those people being divisive? No, the reality is the people who caused the bloodshed in the first place, you need to ask them why they caused the bloodshed in the first place. Many times those are colonizers. So I'm saying this in terms of understanding Fatima al-Zahra. Many of our brethren who came to the Muslim world and came to the followership of the Ahlul Bayt understood that Fatima al-Zahra and her right and the lack of her getting her right may have been one of the pivotal factors that led to them realizing the school of the Ahlul Bayt was the school to be followed. So now, in the Quran, ayah of Mubahila, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says very clearly to the Prophet, tell them, فَقُلْ تَعَالُوا نَدْعُوا أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. The Quran says that bring your men, we'll bring our men. Bring your women, we'll bring our women. Bring your sons, we'll bring our sons. Bring yourselves, we'll bring ourselves. Imam Ali, Rasulullah, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Bibi Fatima comes as the one representative for women. Rasulullah has all of his wives alive. He could have, except for Bibi Khadija, of course. He could have brought any of them. There's a principle of why Allah willed that this personality is there, number one. Number two, Surah Kawthar, very importantly. When the ayah came, as you know, when As ibn Wa'il was one of the people who was making fun of Rasulullah and taunting him, saying that he's someone who is abtar and tailless, Allah responded with this Surah Kawthar, which the manifestation of Surah Kawthar was Bibi Fatima in its embodiment. It's important to understand this. How was Bibi Fatima born? In the narrations we have that Rasulullah on Mi'raj, there were arrangements made for a divine heavenly fruit to be given for Rasulullah, in which was the nur of Fatima al-Zahra. This is why, by the way, some of these names are extremely important. Batul, which is one of the titles of the names of Bibi Fatima, amongst others, Siddiqa, Tahira, and many, many others. Batul meaning that which najasa is too high of a word, but she has been kept tahir in every way, and all the najasa has been kept away from her, the same way Ayat al-Tathir indicates. And so what happened was that nur was transferred, and eventually when those arrangements were made and Bibi Fatima was conceived and she came into this world, Allah made from the beginning to the end of her life a state in which it was complete tahara. we won't get this in this world. We won't understand this dimension. Maybe in the Akhirah it will be known when the cry is heard, Ya ahla mahshar ghuddu absarakum. But when we understand, one way we can get a glimpse of Bibi Fatima is by understanding the stand of her children in Karbala, after her death, or even during her times, whether it was Imam Hassan, whether Imam Hussein, whether Bibi Zainab, or the lineage and the progeny thereafter. It shows us the lessons that she embodied and she instilled in her offspring to become these immaculate personalities. As the poet says beautifully on this idea, Zahra ki dua hai, Zahra ka karam hai. Zahra ki dua hai, Zainab ka karam hai. The very famous line that I've told you before a few times. But I really want us to really think about this. Sometimes poets say lines that are for the general public, and sometimes they say lines for other poets. And I'll come to that in a moment. What do I mean by that? When you listen to Marasi, when you listen to Nauhas, there are two categories at least of Nauhas and Marsiyas. There is one category that's for the general public. For example, the chorus may be very simple and easy for people to be able to repeat and to people to be able to understand. When it comes to other ones, they may be there for other poets to understand. So the general public will hear it and they'll say, this is amazing, or the general public, it may go over their heads. But there are certain lines that are very important for us to consider. One of them is the one that I wanted to share. This is a line for poets. It's not for the general public necessarily. And the poet says, Kahan main aur kahan madho sanaye Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. That where am I and where is the fadail and the merits of Fatima Zahra? Kahan main aur kahan madho sanaye Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. Jo kuch keh loon to ye bhi hai ataye Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. That if I even say anything, that is because of the endowment of Fatima Zahra. We have narrations, by the way, about that highlight what this may be alluding to. That's a conversation for another day. But when it comes to this line that I wanted to share with you, that Zahra ki dua hai, Zainab ka karam hai, London ki sarzameen par Abbas ka alam hai, that dua of Zahra, that dua of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra is what allowed, in one sense, the movement of Karbala to see its victory and its fruition. That dua of Fatima Zahra is what allowed that success to come into the lives of the Ahlul Bayt and the Ma'sumin. This is one dimension. What do I mean? We do du'as and we do istighatha, we do the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by means of those people that He gave right to intercede. So they may be Imam Kazim, they may be Hazrat Abbas, they may be these personalities. But you may find that these personalities, their dua is of course always accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but their intermediary may be Fatima Zahra. So now, coming to why I may have alluded to this. Because Rasulullah, who's rahmatan lil alameen, he says, Fatima bad'atum minni, accepted by all Muslims. There's no issue on this matter. Every Muslim accepts that Rasulullah said this. Now sometimes people say that Rasulullah is saying Fatima is a part of my heart, Fatima is a part of me. The real essence is Fatima is a part of me. There's no heart or any term in this. Fatima bad'atum minni. Fatima is a part of me. Now Rasulullah is indicating this how? Is he indicating this as his daughter, or is he indicating this as something deeper? And this is where the likes of many scholars, much higher grade than I am, Ali Naqi Naqavi, Talib Johri, and many others have highlighted this, that number one, when it comes to the maqam of Rasulullah, one aspect is when all of the ayat of the Quran were revealed on the Prophet, and wahi would come, sometimes you would see the physical impact of the wahi. Sweat or something would break out. So people saw the physical signs on Rasulullah of wahi. But never is it documented that Rasulullah stood up during wahi. In fact, the burden was such, the Quran says, لَوْ أَنزَلْنَا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى جَبَلٍ لَرَأَيْتُهُ خَاشِعًا مُتَصَدِّقًا مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ Surah Hashr. That were we to descend this Quran on a mountain, you would see the mountain would crumble from it. But it was the heart of Rasulullah that could contain it. Not necessarily the physical heart. The spiritual dimensions of the heart of Rasulullah had the caliber to accept it. Now, what does this have to do with anything? When it comes to this, Ali Naqi Naqvi from Aligarh says, look, or one of our great, he was a mujtahid, one of the last mujtahids who used to lecture for the public as well. Again, another example. This scholar, what he would say on the public mimbar, I'm not saying that he would have different faces. What I'm saying is he would have a different Amma perspective on the mimbar, and his books would have a different audience. They were academics. Academics you read. General public doesn't always read. So you have to know your audience. If I'm talking here in front of you, I need to know my audience. I need to make sure that I'm connecting accordingly. So now when it comes to Fatimah al-Zahra on this, he says that I looked across all of the Ayyam and I wanted to see did any of them stand for their daughters when they entered into gathering, as Rasulullah did. Rasulullah would stand up for his daughter whenever she would come into when she would come into a gathering. So he said, I wanted to know, is this just Rasulullah out of love of his daughter, or was there something deeper? Was there something more insightful in this? And he said that I saw that none of the Imams did this. None of the other Imams had done this, at least documented. And so it told me that there must be a different reason. So he came to the conclusion. He said, just come to Salah. Don't go to anything else. He said, you can look at other things, but just let's look at Salah. He said, in Salah, if you look at the differences in Salah between men and women, you'll notice a number of differences, just based on the ahkam. He says, number one, men, for example, they recite bil-jahar, they'll recite out loud for Fajr and Maghrib and Isha, and they'll recite silently for Zuhr and Asr. For women, all of them are silent. For example, the way the feet are kept are different for men and women. When it comes to even the placement of the hands, hands are straight for men, mustahab is different for women, in our ahkam. He said, if you go down the list of the ahkam between men and women, how is all of those requirements supposed to be filled by Rasulullah? Rasulullah is a man. He said, somebody has to fill the void to make sure that all of those ahkam are filled. He said, that was none other than Fatimah al-Zahra. Therefore, he concluded, Ayatollah Ali Naqvi, that it wasn't Rasulullah standing as before Bibi Fatima as his daughter. He was standing for her as a leader, from one qaid to another, from one leader to another. What is her position? I don't know. Perhaps less than Rasulullah, yes. But Rasulullah is the same one who said that she is Sayyidat al-Nisa'il. And so that's something to be considered. Having said that, there's much to say. We're just embarking on this journey, but Bibi Fatima is more someone to try to get a glimpse of through the spiritual realm, to the mystical realm, to the otherworldly realm. And if you make that connection, if we make that connection, you'll find it goes very far. In fact, and I'll tell you this in the next couple of nights, inshallah, some of those karamat that have emerged, that our scholars, that when they are pressed and they are in difficult times, whether it's the tasbih of Fatimah al-Zahra, whether it's a wird or zikr of her name, or whatever it may be, whether it's reciting Ya Zahra 110 times, that's another thing I'll mention, inshallah, next couple of nights. When it comes to this personality, it seems that Allah's divine will is manifested through her personality. Remember, Fatima comes from Fatama. Fatama means to block off. Block off from what? It is that she's a shield, so to speak, to protect the believers from the fire of hell. So when it comes to this divine love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's embodied in this great personality is something for us to reflect on. Nonetheless, tonight we turn and we change our hearts to the tragedy of this great lady. There's a difference. I mentioned this when I was in New York as well. One of the brothers actually mentioned this, and I think there's wisdom there. In our modern world, we've gotten a little bit confused between things. We've conflated things. Lecture is one thing, majlis is something else. Lecture and majlis are different. A lecture has its own place and it's very important. A majlis has its own place and a majlis is very important. Some of the things that are part of our belief in the majlis is that there is a barakah in majlis. These words have gone out of fashion in our world, barakah, the abundance and the concept of it. Sometimes the majalis is to give condolences to the Ahlul Bayt and the Imam of our time. Sometimes it's to commemorate them. Ajrukum ala Allah. The narrations say, I won't take much of your time, the narrations say that Amir al-Mu'mineen, after Rasulullah, he had to deal with many challenges. One of the challenges that he used to deal with was the loneliness in the city. There was no friend for Amir al-Mu'mineen, save for perhaps Salman and a few close friends. Other than that, there wasn't anyone that Imam would walk down the street and they would want to be seen associated with Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. At that point, at that junction, they say Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes home one day and he has a conversation with Bibi Zahra. Eventually, the conversation ensues about bay'ah, and has bay'ah been given. I'll come to this tomorrow and the night after, inshallah. About bay'ah to Ali was not about Ali. Bay'ah to Ali was not about Ali. Fadak was not about Fadak. It was about something deeper. It was about justice in Islam, in its heart and its core. She says, Ya Ali, the people didn't give you bay'ah? He says, my dear wife, Fatimah al-Zahra, the bay'ah, they don't say salam to me in the street. And not only that, when I say salam to them, they don't respond to my salam. You see, Amir al-Mu'mineen knew he was in the right, but the idea of the loneliness that Amir al-Mu'mineen had to convey, that to deal with, this one, the one who brought victory to the Muslims in Badr, in Uhud, in Khandaq, and Khaybar, the one who was the first of the first with Rasulullah, he's having to deal with this isolation. Bibi says, they have forgotten Ghadir? They have forgotten the tragedy that took place? They have forgotten these things? She went, according to some narrations, Bibi Fatima went in her full hijab. She said, tell me, where are the Ansar? Where are the Muhajirin? Where are those people who are there at Ghadir, who went to the Hajj with my father, Rasulullah? She went door to door with Asma. She went with her companions, with some other women, to go to the doors, to say, were you not there at Ghadir? Did you not hear my father say, Alastu awla bikum min anfusikum? Am I not greater than you? Do I not have a greater right over you than you have over yourselves? Did you not hear him say, Man kuntu mawlahu fahadha aliyun mawla? And all of these things, door to door, she went fighting for justice, fighting for the right of haqq of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Why? Because it's her husband? No, because this is the spirit of tashayyud. This is the spirit of Islam. This is the spirit of what it means to be a true believer. This was the same Sayyidah who used to assist her father, Rasulullah, when they would throw the filth on Rasulullah in the early days of Islam. This was the same Sayyidah who was there in spirit and moral for her children at every moment. Ajrukum ala Allah, ajrukum ala Allah. Azadaro zahmat tamam kiya maine. Kuch aise masaib hain bibi ke jo bardasht nahi kiye jate hain. Kehte hain कि जब बाद रहलत बीबी फातिमा ज़हरा और जब रसूलुल्लाह का इंतकाल हो चुका तो एक मकाम ये आया कि जब बीबी फातिमा इस दुनिया में थीं मगर उनके रुखसत होने से पहले कुछ अशकिया दरवाजे पे आए और जब दरवाजे पे आए वो आग लेके आए और बीबी ने कहा ये हसन और हुसैन का घर है, इस घर में हसन और हुसैन हैं, क्या तुम इस घर को आग लगा दोगे? वो जवाब वहाँ से आया कि वह इन होने दें, हसन और हुसैन होने दें इस घर में, हम इस घर को आग लगा देंगे। कहते हैं और लिखने वालों ने ये भी लिखा, हत्ता कि अल फारूक में शिबली नोमानी जो अहले तशय्यो के आलिम नहीं हैं उन्होंने लिखा कि जब उमर और या दूसरे खलीफा के तारीख पढ़ा जाए तो ये देखा जाएगा कि कोई बईद नहीं कि उन्होंने ये किया होगा, मुमकिन है कि जो शिया कहते हैं उन्होंने किया होगा। अगर ये भी हम समझ लें और ये भी हम एक्सेप्ट कर लें तो कम से कम दुख्तर रसूल के घर पे कोई आग ले सकता है। ये कैसे मुसलमान हैं? अजरुकुम अल्लाह। आज़ादारो, मैंने जहमत तमाम किया, पुरसा दीजिए इमाम ज़माना को, पुरसा दीजिए इमाम हुसैन को, अपनी माँ का। कहते हैं कि एक शख्स ने दरवाजे पे लात मारी, उसका नाम कुनफुस था, उस दरवाजे में एक कील थी जो सैयदा के जिस्म अत्हर में पैवस्त हो गई। बीवी ने गोया कहा, ऐ फिजा मेरा मोहसिन शहीद हुआ। कहते हैं, मैंने आखिरी जुमला खत्म किया, आखिरी जुमला कहते हैं कि बाद रहलत पैगंबर, बाद शहादत पैगंबर, बाद शहादत बीबी ज़ैनब, बाद शहादत बीबी ज़हरा फातिमा ज़हरा, क्या हुआ कि जब तकसीम हो रहा था टैक्सेस, और जब टैक्सेस लिए जा रहे थे एक मंजर इमाम अमीर मोमिनीन देख रहे थे। एक शख्स था उसका नाम कुनफुस था। जब कुनफुस आगे बढ़ा और जब टैक्सेस देने की नौबत आई तो कुनफुस से टैक्सेस नहीं लिए गए, कहा तुमसे नहीं लिए जाएंगे, तुम्हें गोया माफ किया गया। जब इमाम आली मकाम ने यह मंजर देखा, इमाम अमीर मोमिनीन रोने लगे, गिरिया करने लगे। सलमान ने पूछा, ऐ शेर खुदा, ऐ मौला, आप इस तरह गिरिया क्यों करने लगे? कहा, ऐ सलमान, तुझे पता है इस पर ये टैक्स माफ क्यों किया गया? कहा, मौला नहीं बताइएगा। कहा, इसे इसलिए माफ किया गया कि सैयदा के दरवाजे पे लात मारने वाला यही कुनफुस था, इसे ये इनाम दिया गया। अला लानतुल्लाहि अलल कौम ज़ालिमीन। فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون وإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، صلى الله عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، صلى الله عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Ya Allah, accept this ibadah. Ya Allah, allow us to learn from the life of Bibi Fatima al-Zahra. Ya Allah, hasten the repentance of Imam Sahib al-Zaman and allow us to be amongst his companions when he returns. Fatima Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein.
Hayy Sayyida, Hayy Sayyida, Hayy Sayyida, Hayy Sayyida. پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے. کیا حال یہ امت نے، کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے. خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی، ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی. 18 برس میں ہی، 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے. دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی، کس طرح سے تو بی بی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی. بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے. تو روتی رہی گھر میں حیدر سے بھی چھپ چھپ کے، عصمت کی طرح دکھ بھی پردے میں رہے تیرے. کچھ درد تیرے بی بی، کچھ درد تیرے بی بی، بس جانتی فضا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، بھی شکستہ ہے. 2 ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریخ میں جو اٹھے، بس گھر کے ہی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندھے. ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک بالی سکینہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت पर्वत भी शिकस्ता है।
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن، عجل الله فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهوره. والسلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. الله